to all. On June the 4th, 1984, the author and producer of cultural films, Paul Pisanos, invited to the offices of his company in Athens approximately people to announce to them an idea of his that was original and bold in inspiration. That Greece was to become again as it was 2,000 years ago in the period of the golden age of Pericles, a world center of letters, arts and science. A meeting center for the heads of state, academic institutions, leading scientists, researchers, philosophers, and artists from every corner of the globe. A meeting center for collaborating and directing the common endeavor of spreading peace, morality, reason and wisdom to the peoples of the world in a spirit of love, cooperation, cultural progress, and peaceful coexistence. Pisanos' idea was accepted with intense enthusiasm, and in the same year, 1984, personalities from many countries of the world, among whom were academicians, university professors, scientists, politicians, authors, and researchers, mayors of large cities and artists, constituted the founding membership, an association which today consists of several hundred members, who are determined to play a decisive role in the furtherance of literature, arts and sciences in the societies of the world. In this difficult age, it has been clearly demonstrated that the decline of human values, the dire manner and life of the people of the Third World, immigration, unemployment, famine, poverty and wars, the inadequate management of the planet's pollution, the growing quality decline of the ecosystem, even the sluggish progress of human travel in space, are due to the segregation of social institutions and research and experimentation centers, particularly in the countries of the Western world, each one swarmedly with its own financial resources, trying to provide solutions to problems for which only the collective cooperation of all the peoples of the earth could structurally produce the desired result. The world today. For Paul Pisanos, the bread and wine of his idea, its deepest sense of the establishment of a universal city, lies in the way sages, scientists, technocrats and researchers could cooperate in the same city through collective efforts that relate to peace, to prosperity of peoples, and the salvation of the ecosystem, so that the economic cost on the level of research, experimentation and application would be as small as possible, while the results would be as great as possible. The official measurements show that the Earth's population continues to grow. Unemployment and poverty of nations has exceeded all limits of tolerance, and cash deficits in an economy that is constantly embed in the have become a scourge. Humanity facing a painful, dangerous tendency of transfer of actives of science and technology, the basic cause of which is global wealth flowing from the productive forces to the brokers and the banks. If the politicians of the world, the heads of state, as well as the major academic forces of culture and science, not take the appropriate decisions for a collective global integration of science, technology and wisdom in order to establish justice, a healthy economy, and the equitable distribution of scientific knowledge and the flow of money in the hands of productive forces, the poor who have not eaten and the planet that is suffocating will show their claws. Let us bow with respect before this global problem which us all. Let us boldly accept with conscious commitment and determination, each separately, our responsibilities towards humanity, the planet, and God. And let us look with profound insight on the work of the Heptapolis as our common property, our common neighborhood, where our common struggle for knowledge, for peace, for social and scientific progress and application of justice will make us all happier. Heptapolis, International Green City, Global Geometrical Model. The history of our solar system has no scientifically proven proving. However, the perfect of its operation leads to the conclusion that it had no beginning and that it is eternal, for perfection has no beginning and no end. The quest for principles that govern perfection constitutes the highest expression of human knowledge. When Pythagoras taught his students, he urged them to observe carefully nature, humanity, and the universe, and to compare the movements, forms, and styles on the basis of digit numbers and geometric shapes. The golden number which constituted the principles of the perfect form, the perfect shape, and the perfect motion was 1.618. The Pythagorean architectural structures, the golden number, and the cosmic meter from the main pillars of creation create Heptapolis. Universe of the celestial sphere, with 7 equal circles that adorn the area of a larger circle, and together make up the holy tetractets of Pythagoras, the main model of the architectural creation of Heptapolis. In this steel likeness of the sacred tetractys of Pythagoras, we observe that the universe is judged as unified, enclosed within its absolute monad. The 4 phases of the tetractys have balanced the forces of the positive and the negative, and all together certify the self-assistent monad, the creator, God. Again, according to Pythagoras, when God decides to self-manifest, it becomes dual, male and female, the generative substance of the absolute monad. When in the next move, God wants to create nature, humanity, and the world, God becomes triple. This is the physical, this is the human, and this is the divine world. For the 3 Pythagorean worlds to function, forces of the positive and the negative have to be separated, with the result that opposite tendencies of these forces unite, thus constituting the principle for every form created. This Pythagorean model of the creation of the world became the geometric model of Heptapolis, with the cosmic and golden number 1.618 as the dominant measure in the relations of the structures, volumes, shapes, and distances. Pasanos created, along with a long-renowned researcher in Pythagoreanism, the civil engineer and mathematician Hippocrates Dakoglou, a dynamic team of inspired architects and engineers who labored for many months trying to construct and create a geometric city in which each structure, in relation to every other and in relation to the whole of the city, is connected by the golden number, and at the same time, a city that would be beautiful, classical, hospitable, livable, and above all functional and sustainable, so that the people who will inhabit it and work in it will feel happy and productive. The study and purpose building of Heptapolis, Paul Pasanos enlisted academics, professors, historians, constitutional lawyers, judges, sociologists, and professors of international relations, artists, and in particular philosophers, and persuaded them to work beside him without pay, so as to give in its whole and in its parts a city of nations that responds to all the evolving needs of every age, every society in the country of East and West. The unprecedented zeal, love of an entire scientific army of Greeks who worship their homeland and seek the good of mankind, brought after many years of hard work the unprecedented result of completing an enormous study of way of thought of the paramount problems of humanity by means of an international city. It was never of any private or public entity to help finance the hundreds of idiots who were members of the Olympos Association who worked on crafting of the project proposal Heptapolis, dedicated to earth and man, to every nation and every religion in the coming centuries. The selection of the site that might in future become the universal intellectual center of arts and sciences was carefully made by the administrative members of the association. A few kilometers from Styria, the majestic Byzantine monastery of St. Luke will be the attraction of visitors to Heptapolis. Here in this region that extends all around us, we will build the city that belongs to all citizens of the society world. On the side of the sunrise, there will be a centralized gate of light. In the west, and Parnassus in the background, the Acropolis of the Heptapolis will be built. In time, the surrounding area will be the sports palace, museums, science centers, conference centers, centers of arts and letters, the World Center of UNESCO, and the Academy of Nations of Heptapolis. Close your eyes and try in this frosty age to feel the beauty of the finest city in the world envelop you. Join us to experience with our time machine the great dream that will mark the history of mankind. Meet Heptapolis. Heptapolis will be a global ecological geometric model community. Imagine a cake, 3 stories high, unequal size. The zoster or belt, the kteron or cell, and the pyrin or nucleus, tholos or dome. The first great circle will include in 7 petala of equal parts the building complexes on the ground floor level of the city. In each of the petala, on the curved sides extend the Olympia walls of Heptapolis at a height of 7 meters, while at their intersections will be 7 gates of Heptapolis. From where the sun rises on March the 21st each year, the imaginary line of the radius of the vernal equinox, which crosses the Heptapolis, would cut the city into 2 halves. These will be the dominant geometric coordinates of Heptapolis, the relation of the elliptical motion of Earth around the Sun in our solar system. Heptapolis, in addition to road and water networks, will be connected with a magnetic train in the areas of Levadia, Thebes, Zachova, Delphi, and Kira, and St. Luke. From 2 underground entrances and exits of the underground magnetic train, travelers can easily and conveniently reach the central gate of light. For every visitor and every citizen of Earth who may have a mobility problem, planners have foreseen that he will be able, all himself, to enter into the city, to visit all the buildings that are located at all levels of the city, and with the GPS system to be supplied at the main gate, listen to the language desired to describe any building complex or statue or artwork he sees before him. In front of the entrance of the Heptapolis, Greece crowns Alexander. This marvelous sculpture, Alexander is depicted seated on a throne. In his left hand, he holds victory. In his right hand, he holds a scepter topped with a sword that sends he who will come again. At the foot of Alexander are 2 lions, symbols of power. At the bottom of the pedestal are history and glory. Standing behind him, Greece christens her great child. From the entrance colonnade, the visitor can admire the geometric layout of HEPTAPOLIS. At the top, we read the doctrine of Pythagoras, revere geometry and arithmetic, proportion and symmetry, because these are the knowledge of God. All member states of the United Nations will participate in an ecumenical collection of bibliography from all forms of books, film, papyri, inscriptions engraved with figure scenes, costumes, weapons, household utensils, and digital programs, CDs and DVDs. Coming to the second level of the city, the Zoster, we find us the inner side of the library that has a perimeter of 2,700 meters, a total of 7 floors. The entire wing is composed of 360 Doric columns that geometrically enclose the Zoster, located at reference to the circumnavigation of the Earth around the Sun in 360 degrees of revolution. The moment the visitor arrives at the Zoster, the first grand building that he admires is the European Palace. On his way to the European Palace building, he can admire the statue of Europe, where, according to myth, Zeus, transformed into a bull, carries her. To the right, the fountain of the rights of the planet. To the left, the fountain of human rights. At far left, in the large park, Freedom Square, and to the right, Justice Square. This is the European Palace. It will house all the services of the member states of the European Union, work towards common goals of human rights, the resolution of the problems of immigration. There will be a classical education center, will hold conferences, seminars, and round tables that will relate to the principles, codes, and laws under which the person will raise his character to the level of the moral life, honorable decision-making, and cultural excellence, so as to become an embodiment of humanity at its best. There will also be a classical philosophy center and a world philosophy center, where the greatest Greek philosophers and philosophers of Europe, America, Asia, Egypt, Israel, and Arab countries and all the nations of the world that have created schools of thought will be taught in seminars, guests of the Zoster. In the History of Science Center, students and free visitors attend seminars to promote science in different branches of science as developed by the peoples and countries of the Western and Eastern hemispheres from ancient times till today. On the south side of the Zoster will be special building complexes such as the Lyceum, the Medical Applications Center, and the Center for Experimental and Applied Electronics. On the southwestern side of the Zoster will be built large shopping centers with shops selling hand-picked inventory, restaurants and cafes, cinemas, theaters, an ice rink, seminar rooms, cinemas, display educational documentaries, booksellers, and applied technology center. The Space Center is a specially designed space area in which the visitor can enter a cosmic vehicle to travel the solar system and galaxies. West of the Zoster will be the building complex Agora. Here there will be a wax museum that presents the greatest personality in Latin, arts and sciences in world history. Here there will be a museum of the history of the automobile, museum of minerals and herbs, museum of the history of aviation, navigation, numismatics, and currency. Cosmos Center Museum will present the development of space science. Original and facsimile models of spacecraft, simulations of the visit of man to the Moon and other planets in the future will attract the interest of investors. The Melethra of the Zoster, straight across from the European Palace. Come to the Melethra, or palaces, of the Zoster. Imagine a giant clock with a diameter of about 400 meters, which encloses with 12 bands the Kitaron of the Heptapolis. What's unique in the world is at coordinates which fix the vernal equinox, which would establish the geometric relationship of the building blocks of Heptapolis. 12 luxurious Melethra, similar to each other, represent the 12 lines of a classic hour clock. If the cell of each living organism represents the archetype that structures its existence, the cells of the Heptapolis represent the archetype of classical education that builds judgment and spirit in the consummate situation of Earth. Located in an absent Pythagorean architectural schema, the building Kitaron or cell will host each year about 12,000 students selected by the ministries of education in their countries who, after obtaining the master's degree from universities from which they graduated, will be attending Heptapolis to receive the Kotinos, a degree unique in the world that relates to the use of knowledge. Here, these select citizens of the world will learn the 90 basic sciences on Earth, not only the subject the sciences, but how to use the knowledge acquired in university studies. Here, classical education at all levels of esoteric knowledge of science and technology will create new thinkers who could activate political, scientific and academic skills at all levels of administration, authority and orientation of peoples to the rule of law and respect for the common good. Here there will be lodge for students. Here in the Gallery of the Muses there will be offices, lodging of the Dean, the Senate, the Commissioners and the Professors of the schools of the Kitaron. In the 9 great schools of the Kitaron there will be spaces, seminar rooms, research and experimental laboratories, an observatory and spaces for intellectual symposia. For the visitor to the Heptapolis to enter the highest level, where there is the Pirin and the Tholos, he will have to go through the underground gallery of the Kitaron, because free access for any visitor to the Kitaron schools is prohibited. From this entrance, the level of the Zoster, the visitor is led on foot or by automatic mechanism to the Pirin of the Tholos, some 30 meters above the Zoster. That spherical structure is the Tholos. Here are described with codes, numbers, equations and diagrams the secrets of the creation of human nature and the cosmos as conceived by ancient Greek philosophers and developed by contemporary scientists. Here is an area of contemplation, meditation and study of laws and principles of creation. The Tholos is used by academic of Heptapolis and students of the Kitaron in the last stage, the use of knowledge. But for a few hours each day, admission will be permitted to guests. Here will be explained the paramount purpose of the philosophical and scientific quest in interpreting laws, codes and archetypes that construct the entire universe. Here the answer to the questions why we came into this world and what the role of man is in the kingdom of creation. On either side of the Gate of Light of HEPTAPOLIS extend the 7 petala, or horseshoes, surrounding the entire city. At 3 of the petala, the Acropolis and the 2 ancient theatres will be built, while in the other 4 petala, the building complexes of green planet Earth will be built. Here assembled are the largest research and experimental scientific forces in the world, who, with uniform strategies and methods to tackle the world's problems, will work to save the ecosystem. In each of the 4 areas of Program Green Planet Earth, there will be created research and experimental ecosystem centers. In Zone E, with strict scientific standards, will be investigated and backed by rigorous experimental data, the limiting of hybrid systems applications, the applications of recycling dispensables and sewage, viability and development sustainability, the sustainable development of mass communications, control of global climate change, ensuring the functioning of the biosphere, biodiversity and dietary changes. Zone K will operate 3 centers developing technologies and clean energy. These centers are in constant communication and collaboration with similar centers in technologically advanced countries, and will monitor, supervise and ensure a global scale in the following areas of research and testing: geothermal research, solar thermal surveys, aeolian research. On the west side, HEPTAPOLIS is geometric petrolo. The Acropolis will be built at a total height of 5 meters. In a platform length of 260 meters and a width of 120 meters on the roof of the Acropolis. 3 buildings of fiber will be built. This is the Academy of Nations. In this magnificent Doric building, which reminds one of a Parthenon, will be housed all services of the participant states of HEPTAPOLIS that will exercise through their academic representatives high monitoring of the development of letters, arts and sciences on a global scale. In this glorious building, 7 floors, solutions will be sought to universal problems, and decisions will be taken at a purely scientific and scholarly level about the difficulties that face current and future citizens of the world, as well as nature itself. This is the building complex UNESCO World Centre that will be proposed for the establishment of services of UNESCO, dealing with the conservation of monuments and megalithic works, upgrading education, knowledge and lifestyles of the citizens of Europe, America and Asia, as well as with the global programs of education, guidance, food and professional orientation citizens of non-advanced nations. This is the United Nations Palace. For each item on the global motion of literature, the arts and sciences, and for each bill that concerns the health of the planet and saving the ecosystem. Here in place, the heads of the state will be able to consult with all scientific and academic authorities of HEPTAPOLIS. The heads of state will be able to consult with all scientific academic authorities of HEPTAPOLIS, and to take decisions in structured and joint agreements between political and scientific institutions with the support of intellectuals and technocrats. The history of the world has shown that behind every great work that marked the history of mankind was the hidden dream of its creator. The dream of HEPTAPOLIS of Paul Pisanos was a common dream for every who hid within him the faith and hope that Greece once more, as in the days of Pericles, would become a world center for humanities, arts and sciences. Today, HEPTAPOLIS more than ever represents the dream of all peoples of the earth to join the spiritual and technological forces and whether under the same roof to solve the problems facing only a citizen of Earth, but the Earth itself. Let us turn our eyes toward heaven and the land, and let us gaze at the face of creation, the face of Himself, who gave us a world of love, of harmony, and infinite beauty, that we have turned a vast plain of battle against one another, and all together against nature and the ecosystem. The great values that we inherited from the ancient Greek world, and the ancient needs of our age for the further of literature, the arts, science, and ecosystem through a global existence of forces will send the message from end to end. And peoples of planet, people of Earth, unite, and so let us unite.